Gamer Type Originals.
It's time for something brief, and while I wish I had more than 800 words for Master of Orion, being in early access means that's all it gets for now. If the Conquer the Galaxy subgenre of 4X strategy games were a concert tour, Master of Orion would be the headlining act. While these games are a dime a dozen now, and some even bring an interesting idea here and there, most are weighted down by poor showmanship or a lack of interesting mechanics, something Orion had in spades. Your favorite game in the series depends on which one you played first, whether it was the bright and flashy but simple first game, or the bland as graphite but more sophisticated second game. No one played the third game, but let me leave a note about that for later. It turns out that the CEO of free-to-play monster Wargaming has a soft spot for the Orion series, so he bought the rights and had a team split between Texas and Argentina working on a reboot, making it the first Orion game in 13 years. If you've never played Master of Orion before, and you should, Civilization in Space is a pretty apt summary. You start with a single colony, and through exploration, expansion, exploitation, and extermination, you build an empire to span the galaxy. You research technologies to build bigger and better ships to intimidate and conquer your neighbors, you send spies into the ether to gather secrets or cause unrest, and you call on your allies when a mutual enemy attacks. Mechanically, the game is essentially the second game, with the cheery aesthetic of the first. This means you can micromanage the motives and production lines of your empire, while the game's spirit is brought to life by incredible remixes from the original soundtrack and quirky characters like the Galactic News Network anchors who pop up periodically to update you on your status in the galaxy and other strange happenings. While the early game has you expanding into unoccupied space, the mid-game feels undercooked. Once borders begin to form, you spend a lot of time watching your colonies build infrastructure and, hopefully, amass a fleet to defend against the random declaration of war. Victory can take a variety of forms. Sure, you can wipe out every other race in the galaxy, but that takes ages, and the game's really interested in getting you past the finish line before the industry standard 500 turns. You can win the majority of votes in the Orion Council, you can purchase the majority of shares on the Interstellar Stock Exchange, which is a bit shaky for a victory condition so far. You can simply be the best scoring ruler in the galaxy, on and on. Even if you become the titular Master of Orion, the game will let you continue playing, so if you're in the middle of a genocidal tear when the bell rang, hey, the game's not gonna stop you. Okay, so that note from earlier. The third Master of Orion game seems to destroy everything it touches, because its one major contribution to this reboot is my least favorite: lanes. In older Orion games, you could send ships in any direction so long as you had the fuel technology to get there. While you would occasionally encounter wormholes that folded portions of the galaxy, the field approach meant you really had to strategize how you built your own supply lines and defensive fronts. With the new Orion's lanes approach, all systems are tied together through pre-generated routes that dictate where and how confrontations will happen. This means your home system is usually safe from arbitrary external access, while allowing you to build defensive outposts and structures. While it simplifies your choices, it also eliminates a chunk of them too. You're not going to spend nearly as much time formulating battle plans when your attacks can only be funneled through a handful of lanes into enemy space. It really sucks if you get stuck at the end of a galactic spiral like these Darlocks were. As a lifelong fan of the series, this reboot feels like coming home. Differentiating from newcomers like Stellaris, Wargaming didn't feel like they needed to toss every single mechanic they could think of into this game. Instead, they took what were two solid games and averaged out their highlights to make a title that's not only the most approachable in the genre so far, but a reboot that's far more interested in being a fun time. I didn't get to talk about the real-time space combat or the incredible voice cast.
It was folly to trust you in the first place.
But I can say that unless they do something dramatically foul in the next few months, Wargaming's take on this strategy classic is a winner.